So last piece here, and we'll kind of transition quickly with a question from Cole, but we're going to talk prospects, but this will obviously tie in a little bit. Cole asks, 5 years from now, what are your projected D pairings? This is kind of fun.
Man, 5 years is...
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's first pair is going to be Buium Faber. Yeah. The second pair is where it gets really interesting. In as much as I love this player, I think if he is your 3 or 4, you're probably not I think if Damon Hunt's on your second pair, that might be a bit of an issue.
It's not good. No. I got to take.
Well, my big question is, hey, is Carson Lambos going to be here in 5 years? That's
my question, right? Let's say he is. Let's say he is. I don't think you should put Zeev and Brock together. I think you put Brock and Lambos together.
Yeah, at that point, you have to flirt with. I mean, again, if you're talking 5 years out, there's a very good chance whoever's on your second pair, at least one of those guys isn't here right now. Either he's going to get drafted in the next 5 years, or is a guy that maybe you're trading for, whatever. So the big question is Carson Lambos here in 5 years? Because I do think that's a legit question where, that kid is fucking so good. People are, whatever on the. I feel like they've also between Brock Faber getting traded for and then immediately going all the way off in his rookie year, drafting Zeev Buium at this point because it's a defenseman that takes a longer amount of time to get there. The love for Lambos is just kind of gone away to the point where people are like, oh, he's a bust. It's okay, that's sure. Whatever, again. But whatever. When you look at their pool in general, I do think even when you look at their defensemen, I still think there's the guys that you're most sure about, obviously Faber because he's there. Then Zeev Buium. After that, every guy has a legit question of just how high in the lineup can you really project from there? And there's a ton of guys that I love. I love Lambos. I think he's absolutely a second pair D-man who you can rely on for legit defense, and he's got offensive upside that he might not be able to rely on the NHL level. And the other question Cole just threw in there is Brodin still here at that point? I would be shocked.
No,
how old is he now?
Old.
Right. 36. Yeah. Well, that's not okay. That's not nice. I don't agree with that part, but that's fine.
Yeah, we can edit that out later. I think the one that's the most interesting because it's pure boom bust, right? There's no way that this guy makes a ton of sense for a third pairing, but you could see a world where Aaron Kiviharyu's in that top 4, right? If things shake out right. And it's hard to know because there's some players that are pretty versatile and can play either side, but with him and Lambos and Buium all being on the left side or being left-handed, do you feel like it's kind of either Kiviharyu or Lambos isn't here? Or both?
I don't know. Because Lambos has played both sides, obviously predominantly on the left, but he's been able to play on either side as well. But and that's where it gets interesting too, where it's you look at, they've got some legit high ceiling D prospects. All but 1 or 2 of them are on the left side. And the guys that can play on the right is Lambos, who, he's done it forever, but obviously way more on the left. Then you've got Ryan O'Rourke, who in the OHL predominantly played on the right side. That's a problem if he's your number 4, probably. Damon Hunt probably a problem. But well, I think he could be a fine enough for. But at that point, you're definitely like balancing those top two D pairs. Again, there's a very good
I
chance
like
that
that, by
whoever's
the way.
on your
I'm
second
advocate of balancing the top two pairs. Like, I've seen it work so well in other places when you have the personnel to do it. Like, obviously, the Wild will never have this level of personnel, but you go back to the 07 Cup champs, if you can roll out two top D pairs the way that the Anaheim Ducks did en route to that Stanley Cup, you can't beat that. And it's like, oh, why don't they play Pronger and Niedermeyer together? Well, because they can literally swap for each other and both play the entire game because they're maniacs. Like, that's a good spot to be in. So, like, people need to get okay with the idea of Brock and Zeev not playing together. That's really why I bring it up.
Yeah. Right. And at the same time, too, like, it's fun. Like, nothing says that, like, at no point, if they're not starting, like, if the D pairs aren't at the start of a game, if they're not together in the lineup sheet, like, there's no rule that says they're not allowed to be on the ice at the same time ever. Like, that's not a thing. So, like, that's the other thing too, where it's like, oh, we're just not gonna play them together. Like, well, like, other than when you want to. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
See, there are still fans that are upset that Huznadinov will not be playing with Kaprizov this year, which is like insane.
I think there can't be that many of those people. But
no, there's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah, whatever. It's not even worth jumping into. All right, let me try to actually. If we're going off, that's where I'm going. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just got to ask you about one in particular.
Okay, good.
Is Kyle Masters part of that group of six? We'll say seven. Is he part of the group of seven?
If you think I wasn't gonna figure out a way to throw him in there, you're out of your mind.
You haven't mentioned him yet, so I didn't know.
Yeah, so if you want to even out, so
let's list for everybody in order the ones that fell into our prospect rankings. Which, if you haven't listened to, you should definitely go back either podcast form or YouTube. It's all there. But in order. Our top defensemen for the current Wild prospect pool. 1 is Zeev Buium. 2, Damon Hunt. 3, Carson Lambos. And again, these are all cumulative from all of our input. 6 people. Sound the Foghorn, RIP in peace. And the Sota Pod. Number 4, Aaron Kiviharju. Number 5, David Russo Spacek. Number 6, Jack Peart. Number 7, Ryan Healy. Number 8, Kyle Masters. Number 9, Sebastian Sawinni. Number 10, Ryan O'Rourke. 11, Kalen Parker. 12, Aaron Pionk. 13, Stevie Isha Jerome Leskovar. And last place, Nate Benoit. One of the two. Don't know, don't care. And yes, we're going to assume that we're working with people currently here, because otherwise I don't know how you could project who we might trade for or draft in the future.
Right. I want to get a little bit. I want to go off the map. Well, not really off the map, I guess. I'm going to try this one on for size, so I can just say it out loud. I don't think this is kind of just like fun in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Kiviharju, Faber, top pair.
Like it.
Buium, Lambo, second pair.
Love it.
Damon Hunt, Kyle Masters, third pair.
Okay.
Which is complete chaos, because in my head, it's very funny thinking about a D pair of 2022 WHL Damon Hunt with Kamloops Blazers, Kyle Masters on the same pair. And it's just fucking, they're murdering everybody. They're F1 and F2 on the forecheck and like F-6. Like they, like one of them is just there all the time and neither one of them stops moving. I actually, and because we mentioned it with Lambos about the, will they be, I think there actually probably is even a bigger question is David Hunt here in 5 years.
I was just going to say, that's my one correction is I think he's gone because he doesn't get the opportunity he wants and he goes elsewhere where he gets the chance.
Yeah. And I think outside of like, he can play in the NHL right now. Like he looked like he was more than comfortable in the NHL. And again, every time we talk, I have to admit, it is impressive his ability to completely change the way that he played forever in the WHL immediately into pro hockey. Like it is like, I've explained it ad nauseum. Even that doesn't do it justice. I don't think people understand how fucking chaotic he was as a defenseman in the WHL. It was very fun, very effective. And again, him and Matejchuk is one of the best D pairs in junior hockey I've ever seen in my life. And it was just an absolute electric factory, start to finish. But like, it couldn't be. You want to talk about like, I don't know if this guy's going to play defense in the NHL. He basically was only in the offensive zone. And then if he was in his own end, he was like killing people. that was pretty much it. Because they were that good, he didn't have to play a ton of defense in the first place. But him and Matejchuk, they had the puck the whole fucking game. But all that to say, like how quickly he adjusted to play like legit pro hockey is incredibly impressive. He probably should be playing in the NHL right now, or at least because like when you look at the Wild right now, like he doesn't even, I don't think he has a shot in hell of making the team out of camp unless they're literally going to, I think he is on like the lowest salary they possibly can have him on. Is he just be sitting in the press box? And like when you watch him play in the AHL, again, it's for fucking Iowa who stunk. And it's just, I can't think of a worse environment for like young defensemen, which is all they had last year. Young goalies, they only had, it's crazy. Like I think he could be playing, he should be at least like on a team where like he could be competing for a legit spot this upcoming season. So in 5 years, it's probably just as likely that he's not here as like a guy like Lambos. So that's the big question right there too.
So I'll take a spin on I liked your top four a lot. That's exactly where my head was at. If I have to change something, let's say Lambos isn't still around, which I'm not a supporter of. I love Carson Lambos. What if we're not talking enough about my boy Declan Chisholm? What if he's the guy that ends up playing with Zeev Buium on that second pair? Third pair, way too early to make any kind of declaration, but Sebastian Sawinni could be real fun on that third pair if he pans out correctly. And I'm trying to think who the other guy would be to fit with him, because I don't think Hunt stays. I think that he can get a better opportunity elsewhere, and I think he'll pursue that. So the real question is who plays with him on that third pairing, and I could see it being either your boy, Kyle Masters, or, this is tough because they're all right-handed defensemen. God damn it. But Kalen Parker's a guy that could round out into a pretty interesting third pairing defenseman too.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we're talking 5 years out. Not 2, not 3, 5.
Yeah,
hard to say.
That's when a guy like Jack Peart comes in too. You have to start thinking about a guy like him.
Do you think he like profiles
also
well?
Ryan O'Rourke. That's the thing too. You also have a guy like Ryan O'Rourke who profiles pretty strong as like a bottom pair defensive defenseman that can just eat minutes, play all the minutes that you do not want any of your like guys with like legit offensive upside to have to play. He's going to kill a ton of penalties. Yeah. So like,
okay. O'Rourke,
that's what you wonder about O'Rourke. But then we have to also throw in the mix spot check, everyone's favorite, because that's a guy with some legit offensive upside. He's got size. He can play mean. His skating confuses the shit out of me, but like sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not good. It's fascinating. He's a science project of a human being and hockey player. And like if there's a guy, when you look at like, there's a bunch of guys that profiled either as like a 4 or a bottom pair guy. Someone like Spotcheck, he's got the NHL lineage. He plays a pretty projectable bottom pair offensive role where it's like, if you pair him with a defensive D-man, like that could be a real nice fit. Like, again, a guy like him with O'Rourke, it's interesting. This is where it gets fascinating with their prospects, because so many of those D-men have like legit ceilings. Big time question about how realistic is it that they hit that ceiling versus like they've got like a high floor. And then it's like, okay, how do we balance that out? I still think one of those guys isn't here yet. That's the thing. Either they haven't been drafted yet, or it's a guy that could be traded for. That's the 5-year question's hard.
Right. And a lot of these guys still won't be here, like that are currently in the pool. But I think a 5, 6, 7 in no particular order, but just some shuffle of Spacek, Sweeney, and O'Rourke could make a ton of sense.
Yeah, Sweeney, again, I've said this before, I'm very fascinated in his development arc. I do worry
come January, I might change my mind.
Yeah.